Hey guys, what's going on? It's Coach BJ here. We're going to do a short segment on improving shoulder extension. The person we're going to be looking at today is George, and he had a reconstructive shoulder surgery, so he's really lacking a lot of shoulder extension. So we're going to work on a little bit of shoulder extension, improving end range of motion, and doing a little bit of progressive angular isometric loading. We're not really going to get into the whys and how this works. That's a whole nother video that we can go into, the whole methodology. This is just going to be a little bit procedural. So let's get, all right, here we go. So let's get over here. Let me scroll through. There's me setting up weights. Here we go. Here we go. Okay. Here we go. So, the first part of this setup that we want to look at is notice that George's head is down, his body's flat on the ground, and I had him put his hands up on that pad. How lifted your hands are is really going to depend on how much range of motion you have. There's two types of actions we're going to do. We're going to do the pails and we're going to do the rails. Pails stands for progressive angular isometric, and rails is regressive. So one's going to be, lack of a better term, one's going to be pushing, one's going to be pulling for the most part. What we want is when we do that regressive in this particular action is going to be him lifting his hands off the pad. We want it so that your hands don't really lift. You want to be exerting that force, but for the body part to not move. So you're going to pick a pad that allows you to lift your hands maybe a centimeter. Maybe they don't lift at all. But you want that pad to be right at your end range of motion, not jacking your arms further back than they can go naturally. Just if you were to lift your arms off the ground where they would hit their end range on their own, that's about the height of the pad you want to use. So you can use, barbell plates. You can use, box pads, little pieces of boxes, little boards, whatever you want. So right here we have him lifted up. We'll see later. Possibly this was just a touch too high. I could have gone a little bit lower than this because his active range of motion is a little bit less than this. So let's take a look at what we're doing here. Cool. So moving it out right to the wrist so that only his fists are on the pad. Part of this movement that's important is full body tightness, and we'll call that irradiation. So we do a lot of full body irradiation. So you squeeze your glutes, squeeze your quads, squeeze your core, even though we're working on shoulder extension. Squeeze the fists. There's a lot of neural feedback you get specifically from the feet and the hands. So we're going to be cueing a lot of full body irradiation cues. What that does is it sends neural drive, or it increases your neural drive, your ability to innervate motor units and muscle. And we're going to use that and apply it to this weak shoulder tissue. All right, so we're looking at the athlete with fist on the pad. We're starting that full body irradiation. Look from the toe all the way to the hands. The toes are tucked, quads are squeezed, glutes are squeezed. He's pushing down on the pad about 15% effort. We're raising that up to about 20%, 30%. Squeezing the core, squeezing the lats, squeezing the lower body really tight. He's ramping his way all the way up. He's now at 100% effort. Pushing down into the pads at 100% effort, squeezing those fists as hard as he can, squeezing those biceps. You'll see that fluctuation in the tricep from that max effort, full body max effort, as if you could leave dents in the pad, really trying to smash down there. And now we're going to drive our head down to make sure we don't lift up our chest and pull those arms back as far as we can. You'll notice those wrists are breaking a little bit because he's trying really hard to lift his arms up. You'll also notice they don't really lift, and that's okay. The impulse signaling is going to be all that we need to engage those motor units. He's pulling those arms up at 100% effort, and that was the end. So just to recap, we irradiated the body, which means we created tension, full body tension, and increased neural drive to help facilitate working on this weak tissue. We ramped up from 10% all the way up to 100%. Once we hit 100%, of pushing downwards, we're pushing down at 100% for 15 seconds, and then we lift up max effort for 15 seconds. So we only progressively work up to that push down action, and then we just go straight into that pull up action for 15. So 15 seconds ramping, 15 seconds pushing down, 15 seconds pulling up, just to simplify it. Something else we go into afterwards to help condition the shoulders are liftoffs. So for liftoffs, let's take a look at this. So liftoffs, you'll notice I took the pad away, and George is just going to try to lift his arms up and bring them back down. Ideally, all the way extended in those elbows. Fists are tight. You get that same type of max effort that you do when you're pulling up your arms away from the pad, except here we allowed for 1 to 2 inches of excursion so that you can actually get some range of motion in those reps and change the tissue length so that you can start to condition the length tension curve on those muscles. Okay, so pails and rails, I would do 2 to 3 sets of the actual isometric work, and then I would do 1 to 2 sets of the liftoffs. Liftoffs maybe 10 to 15 reps each. All right, so that was pails and rails, followed by a little bit of liftoffs for shoulder extension. This is great. George had reconstructive shoulder surgery, so he had some shoulder issues there. This is also just great for anyone trying to strengthen their overhead squat position, trying to isolate their shoulder extension from their rib cage movement, which you see a lot. You see a lot of hyperextension in the thoracic area because of lack of shoulder mobility. So if you want to work on that, this is great for you guys. If you have any more questions, stick them in the comments. I'll see you guys next time with some more tips. All right, see you later.